And here we are in game number 3 in the finals, the RSTL finals between Team Property and Team NewRoSoft. Starnan was victorious in the last game, so the new player for Team NewRoSoft has been sent out. He is the red Terran in the top right corner. It is Kras. Now, and of course, his opponent, the victor in the last game, knocking out Roof for now. It is going to be the purple Protoss player for Team Property. It is Starnan. So now this clan war has been pretty close so far. Roof was playing extremely aggressive. In the first game it did pay off for him and Altasim Stronghold. In the last game not so much. He did manage to deny the third base of Starnan, but he hardly had any workers behind it. So when that Oracle flew in for the second time and got another 5 or 6 kills, there was no way that he could come back into that game. He just did not have any army on the map. So let's see what these players are going to bring today. Are we going to see an all-in from Starnan? Or maybe even from Kras? We don't mind seeing those SEV pools, because I have had quite some trouble figuring them out myself. So might pick up a few tips, because Starnan is definitely an excellent player. And if there is a great Terran player in Europe, then Kras is definitely one of them. He's been very strong lately. So let's see how this game is going to go. Looks like there is going to be a Reaper opening from Kras. It's a perfect scouting tool, of course. And you might even get 1 or 2 probe kills, depending on the micro of your opponent, of course. Unlike Zerg players, the probes cannot be turned into buildings to save them from any units. That's why you really have to get that mothership core out. Since the Reaper openings have become popular, going for an expansion first against the Terran is pretty much impossible. But the probe already saw what it needed to see. He knows that the Reaper is going to come out very soon. So the probe has to either go back home or hide somewhere out on the map. Might try and take that Xel'Naga watchtower, but not even that. He does not want to risk it. He can take that expansion on the low ground, but after that he needs to rush to get that mothership core out once the cybernetics core is done. So the Nexus is down. And now we will see that mothership core in production, but the Reaper already on the way. But by the time that the Reaper is in the base, the mothership core will already be out. So not too much damage can be done. Also a very nice wall off from Starnet, and I really like players who do that. The Reaper really has to commit its life in order to scout out what is happening behind that mineral line. So let's see. The Reaper comes in, sees what he needs to see. Well, sees at least a little bit of what he needs to see. Has to get out of there immediately after taking the first shots from that mothership core. Now the follow-up for Kras is, of course, that the command center is coming down. And a second barrack, so he might look to put on some pressure on Starnet in the very near future. But it's going to be very interesting. Is he going to go into the factory now? Or will he go into more barracks with the upgrades? This is exactly what I was talking about. It can be very difficult for that Reaper to make it out from behind that mineral line. No kills on that Reaper. Did get 1 probe very low. He needed 1 more hit, I do believe, to kill it off. But now there's a Stalker out, and that Reaper not going to do all that much anymore. Does he spot the Reaper? Yes, he sees the Reaper, so he knows where to position his units and try and kill it off. And he will lose his life. He will get it. Starnan killed off the scout, and that Reaper did not see what kind of tech Starnan was going for. Now Starnan, of course, is going to go for that robotics facility. You have to be very careful nowadays with those Widow Mine drops. They might come a little bit later, but you need to get the detection out pretty much instantly. But still, Oracle openings are a very powerful unit, keeping your Terran opponent quite a bit at home. But the engineering bay is going to be on the way. The factory will be added on. And of course, Stimpack already on the way, which means that the Stimpack is going to be quite early from this point forth. And 3 Marine at the same time is quite nice production for this stage in the game. He will try and move forward, trying to pick at that mothership core a little bit, try and get that photon overcharge out of there. Keeping that mothership core low on energy is going to be very nice, because at a follow-up push you don't want to have that mothership core at full energy where it can photon overcharge both Nexi. So the first observer is gonna move across the map. He's not going to spot these units that are going past that third base, so this might catch Starnan a little bit off guard. And this is already a lot of Marines on the map. Now that engineering bay not being used so far, he just wanted to get it for those missile turrets inside the main base, because it still might be a Stargate. But now the Marines are gonna be here. Immediately that photon overcharge. One probe will go down, but that Marauder is already quite tanky right there. Beautiful force field, making the surface area a little bit harder to work with for Kras. And at the end of that engagement, 4 Marines and a Marauder for a probe, not really going to be worth it. But he did bait out 100 energy from that mothership core, which is always very nice. But he committed quite heavily to that. Now the robotics bay is of course already on the way. Twilight Council will be on the map very soon too. So would not be surprised to see Blink be researched from that immediately. And even a very greedy play with a double forge inside the main base. Now he's working off of 3 gateways, which is very nice. But Kras is looking to be very aggressive in this game too. Another 2 probes have been killed off. Nice force field right there. All those units will be trading away pretty much for free. But there is another set of units streaming across the map. I don't know if he can really make this work, but Stim is done, so he definitely has that going for him. But back at home, what does he really have going for him? Medevacs have just entered the map. There are 3 barracks churning out those units, and the factory's not doing anything at this point. But he's just very well set up for a 2 base play. Another command center will get added on. A few extra barracks will make it to the battlefield very soon too. But Kras is really looking to put on that pressure on Starnan. Now Blink is on the way. The first Colossus is about to be done, and of course +1/+1 is going to be on the way, which means that Starnan is going to stay defensive for quite some time. Now the double medevac drop is looking to go towards that natural base, landing behind that mineral line. He's going to get a few probes in that scenario for sure. No, wow, Starnan really on top of his game right now. The medevacs are just chilling out for now. The vision of Starnan outside of his base is also pretty decent. There's still a way for Kras to fly in through the middle, and that's exactly what he's doing right now with 4 Marauders. Now, if he wants to snipe some tech buildings, that's definitely one way to do it. But the observer has spotted it. He has to be very careful. Blink is not done quite yet, but it's getting pretty close to that point actually. Also, Viking production already started. Another double medevac drop inside the main base, keeping those Zealots and Colossus at the right location while the Stalkers defend inside the main. So, pretty spectacular defense so far from Starnan, but it can be very tricky for him to take a 3rd base with this amount of drop play from Kras already. Now, all the medevacs have remained alive, which means that there are still 3 medevacs on the battlefield. So, 5 Vikings. That is pretty nice macro from Kras right there. And 5 Vikings, he's about, well, he can take a pretty good fight very soon already. 2 Colossi are out, the 3rd one is halfway done. Stalker still chilling inside the main base. And the drop is gonna be attempted once again. No, that's just a Marine walking around. Another Marine is gonna spot that this 3rd base is already in production. And the 3rd base for Kras will be at the forward location. I really like that, so you can rally your reinforcements to the front. And it's going to keep your opponent in the dark a little bit longer, because usually they're going to check for this location as a 3rd base. Of course, against a Terran player, you always have to be very careful. So let's see. A very passive game from Starnet, as already mentioned. He is getting his 2-2 upgrades, getting a very nice lead on that. Back at home, Kras has started his +2/+1 armor, but still, even he's going to be behind, and especially without that chrono boost, can get very dicey. But in the economy, he's doing very well. He's at 67 SCVs against the 62 of his opponent. Also, that 3rd base is saturated just a little bit faster, and I'd really like to see Starnet produce a few more of those workers, just to make sure that he does not fall too far behind in the economy. Now, that's also a lot of Marauders at the alternative 3rd base location. Does want to intercept any units that try to harass that location. But a triple medevac drop could potentially happen at that 3rd base. And this is the point in which Kras really wants to get very drop heavy. because this army is very difficult to split off against split up bio for sure, and especially if there are medevacs hanging over their heads. But the supplies for Kras are actually looking extremely well. 170 supply against 130 of Starnan. But he is of course only producing those marines and medevacs, while the army of Starnan is looking pretty deadly with those 4 colossi in the back. Templar archives should not be too far away at this point. But let's see. A lot of zealots have been warped in at that top left corner. Looks like Starnan was getting a little bit interested in picking a fight with Kras right there in the middle of the map. But only a few zealots do get sacrificed for the greater good. Finally that third base does get scouted. But the zealots moving in from the top left are also not going to do anything. So quite a few resources being wasted there by Starnan. Resource loss, he has lost quite a bit more, but he needs to get his army together for this fight. Ghosts are here already, but there are no High Templars on the map just yet. And the Vikings, they are very high in numbers, but will they be able to get the nice shots off? Stalkers are moving forward, blinking back. And it looks like Kras has the upper hand right now. Starnan is attempting that high yield base, but that is not really going to happen. Vikings taking out the... No, not yet the first Coloss right there, but getting 2 extremely low. Finally the first one falls, and Kras is in hot pursuit right now. Second Coloss is falling. Third one is getting focus fire down, but the Stalkers are targeting those Vikings very nicely too. Still, there is so much bio here. Will he be able to defend this corner? Ghosts are moving forward. They can go for those EMPs, of course, wrecking those zealots in their path too, because they're pretty good against zealots. But now the last Coloss has gone down. The supply is 138 against 78. The probes are being pulled away from that third base, and it looks like he's going to go for the victory march. There's nothing left for Starnan. He's at 23 army supply right now with the Colossus still in production. He's going to lose that third base. The fourth base, it did complete, but he's not going to mine from that base for quite some time, if even at all in this game. 3-3 is now finishing up for Starnan. He does have that going for him, but he has no army to utilize those upgrades at all. He does not have that Mothership Core for a little bit of extra DPS from that Photon overcharge. Nice EMP on the entire army from Kras. Those Stalkers without shields do get picked off by those Marauders so insanely fast. Colossus is being kept alive on the high ground for a little while longer, but the Viking does get the last shot. Zealots tanking quite a bit of damage, but it is just not enough. Kras takes the victory and gets the 2-1 lead for Team NewRoSoft.